I stared at the Powerball ticket in my trembling hands, then at my phone screen, then back at the ticket. The numbers matched. All 6 of them. I blinked hard, convinced my 68-year-old eyes were playing tricks on me, but no, those numbers stayed exactly the same. $12.4 million. I, Margaret Chen, a retired elementary school teacher who'd been clipping coupons for 40 years, had just won the California Powerball. My first instinct was to call Lisa, my daughter, my only child. We hadn't been as close lately as I'd hoped. She was always busy with Derek and the kids, and I understood that. Life gets hectic. But this was the kind of news that brings families together, right? I imagined her squeal of excitement, the way she used to sound when she was little, and I'd surprise her with something special. I pressed her number with shaking fingers. "Mom? What's up?" Her voice sounded distracted, like I'd interrupted something. "Honey, I need to tell you something. Are you sitting down?" "Mom, I'm at Costco. Can this wait?" "Lisa, I won the lottery." The words tumbled out. "The Powerball. $12.4 million. Silence. Then, "What? Mom, are you? Did you really?" "I'm looking at the ticket right now. I already called the lottery office." "It's real, sweetheart." Another pause. Longer this time. When she spoke again, her voice had changed smoother, almost syrupy. "Oh my God, Mom, that's incredible." "Listen, Derek and I should come over this weekend. You're going to need help figuring all this out. There's so much to do, lawyers, financial advisors, taxes. It can be overwhelming." Something about her tone made me uneasy, but I pushed the feeling away. Of course she'd want to help. That's what daughters do. "That would be wonderful, honey. I'd love to see you all." "Perfect. We'll drive up Saturday morning. And Mom, don't sign anything or talk to anyone until we get there, okay? There are a lot of scammers who target lottery winners." "Okay, sweetie. I'll wait." After we hung up, I sat in my quiet Sacramento bungalow, still clutching that ticket. Tom had been gone 5 years now, and sometimes the silence in this house felt like a living thing. But today, the silence felt different. Expectant. Like everything was about to change. I spent the next 2 days in a daze, barely sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those numbers. I kept the ticket in my bra, too paranoid to put it anywhere else. By Friday afternoon, I was exhausted and jittery, jumping at every sound. I decided to take a long bath to calm my nerves. That's when Lisa called again. "Mom, we're actually going to come up tonight instead of tomorrow. Derek managed to get off work early. We should be there by 9. "Oh, wonderful. I'll make up the guest room." "Don't go to any trouble, Mom. We just want to help you with all this." They arrived at 8:45. Lisa hugged me tight, tighter than she had in years, and Derek gave me one of his broad smiles that never quite reached his eyes. The kids, Mia and Jackson, ran straight to the kitchen looking for the cookies I always kept stocked. "So, Mom," Lisa said, settling onto my worn couch, "tell us everything. Have you told anyone else?" "Just you. And the lottery office, of course." "Good, good." She exchanged a glance with Derek. "We've been doing some research. Did you know that lottery winners can be targeted? People come out of the woodwork, distant relatives, scammers, even lawyers who aren't looking out for your best interests." Derek leaned forward, all concern. "Margaret, no offense, but this is really complex stuff. Financial planning, tax law, estate management. We think the smartest thing would be to set up a trust right away. We could help manage it for you. Make sure everything's handled properly." I felt that unease again, stronger this time. "I appreciate that, but I was thinking I'd consult with my own lawyer first." Of course," Lisa said quickly. "We're not trying to take over. We just want to make sure you're protected." She yawned. "It's been a long drive. Would you mind if I grabbed my iPad from the car? I like to check my email before bed." "I'll get it," Derek offered, but Lisa was already up. "No, you stay. I need the air anyway." After she left, Derek talked about investment strategies and tax implications. I nodded along, but I was tired, so tired my eyes kept drooping. Finally, I excused myself and headed to bed, hearing them settle in the guest room. I was almost asleep when I remembered I'd left my reading glasses in the living room. I needed them for my morning crossword. It was part of my routine, and routines mattered when you lived alone. I crept out quietly, not wanting to wake anyone. That's when I saw it. Lisa's iPad, sitting on the coffee table, its screen still glowing. She must have forgotten to lock it before bed. I wasn't trying to snoop, I was reaching past it for my glasses when I saw the text message preview on the screen. From Derek. Did you talk to her about the trust? My hand froze. Something told me not to look. Something told me to just grab my glasses and go back to bed. But I couldn't. I tapped the screen. The Messages app was open. I saw my name. I saw numbers. My heart started pounding as I scrolled up, reading messages from earlier that evening, sent while they were driving. Derek. How did she sound on the phone? Lisa. Excited. Naive. She has no idea what to do with that kind of money. Derek. Good. That's good. We need to move fast before she gets any ideas about world cruises or giving it all to her church. Lisa. She won't. She's too careful with money. Always has been, but that's actually the problem. She'll want to just let it sit in a bank somewhere, earning nothing. Derek. Or worse, she'll spread it around to every charity that comes calling. Your mom's always been a soft touch. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the iPad. I kept reading, my stomach twisting into knots. Lisa, I've been thinking about what you said, about having her declared incompetent. No. No. Derek, she has been forgetting things lately. You said so yourself, repeating stories, losing her keys. Lisa, I know, but Derek, she's not that bad. That feels extreme. Derek, it might not come to that. If we can convince her to put everything in a trust with us as trustees, we can manage it properly. Pay off our debts first, then set aside money for the kids, then, Lisa, our debts are $400,000. That's a lot. Even out of $12 million. Derek, which is exactly why we need to handle this now. Lisa, we're drowning. The investment property was supposed to appreciate, not tank. If we don't do something, we're going to lose everything. This is literally a godsend. Lisa, I know you're right. It's just, she's my mom. Derek, and we're your family too. Mia and Jackson's future is on the line. Your mom would want to help if she understood the situation. Lisa. Then why don't we just tell her? Derek. Because she'll say no. You know how she is about learning from your mistakes and being responsible. She'd probably give us a lecture about living within our means. We don't have time for lectures. We need action. Lisa. Okay, you're right. Tomorrow we'll talk to her about the trust. We'll frame it as protecting her from scammers and bad advisors. She trusts us, she'll sign. Derek, that's my girl. This is going to work out. We'll get our lives back on track, and she'll never have to know she saved us. The screen went dark from inactivity. I stood there in my dark living room, in the house where I'd raised Lisa, where Tom and I had built our life together, and I felt something inside me crack. My daughter. My only child. The little girl I'd rocked to sleep, whose hand I'd held on her first day of school, whose tears I'd dried through breakups and disappointments. That little girl was in my guest room right now, planning to manipulate me, potentially even have me declared incompetent to get control of my money. I wanted to storm in there. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake her and ask her when she'd turned into someone I didn't recognize. But I didn't. Because somewhere between the shock and the heartbreak, a cold, clear thought emerged. They had no idea what I was capable of. They saw a forgetful old woman, someone naive and easy to control. They had no idea that I'd managed a classroom of 30 kids for 35 years, that I'd balanced budgets and dealt with manipulative parents and navigated school district bureaucracy. They thought I was helpless. I was going to show them exactly how wrong they were. But first, I needed evidence and a plan. I pulled out my phone and took pictures of every message, my hands steadier now. Then I grabbed my laptop and started researching. By 3 a.m, I'd learned about California's one-party consent law for recording conversations. I'd found the contact information for an elder law attorney in San Francisco with excellent reviews. I'd read everything I could find about trust structures and financial exploitation of seniors. When Lisa and Derek came out for breakfast, I had fresh coffee brewing and pancakes on the griddle just like always. Grandma Margaret, predictable and sweet. "Morning, Mom," Lisa said, kissing my cheek. "You sleep okay?" "Like a baby," I lied. "I'm just so excited about all of this. and grateful you're here to help." Derek's smile got wider. "That's what family's for." Over breakfast, they started their pitch. Lisa did most of the talking, Derek nodding along supportively. They painted a picture of danger scammers, unscrupulous advisors, long-lost relatives appearing from nowhere. They talked about how complex it all was, how easy it would be to make mistakes that could cost me everything. "The smartest thing," Lisa said, reaching across to squeeze my hand, "would be to set up an irrevocable trust. Derek and I could serve as trustees. We'd handle all the complicated financial stuff, make sure your money is invested properly, and you'd never have to worry about any of it." I set down my coffee cup carefully. "That sounds wonderful, but wouldn't I need a lawyer to set something like that up?" "We actually know someone," Derek jumped in. "A guy from my office used him for his parents' estate planning. Very affordable, and he could probably come out next week." "Next week?" I frowned. "Is there a rush?" "The sooner we get this locked down, the safer you'll be," Lisa said. "Mom, you have to claim the prize soon anyway. Wouldn't it be better to have all the legal protections in place first?" I nodded slowly, like I was considering it. "You're probably right. You've always been so smart about these things, honey." The relief on their faces was almost comical. "But," I continued, "I'd feel more comfortable if we got a second opinion, just to make sure I understand everything. Would that be okay?" I watched Derek's jaw tighten. "Sure, but this is a lot of money. More than I ever imagined. And I want to make sure I'm making the right choices. For all of us." Lisa glanced at Derek, then back at me. "Of course, Mom. Whatever makes you comfortable. Did you have someone in mind?" "Actually, no. Do you think you could help me find someone? Maybe someone who specializes in lottery winners?" This seemed to appease them. They probably figured they could steer me towards someone they could influence. "Absolutely," Lisa said. "We'll do some research today." "Wonderful. Oh, and I was thinking, since you're both here and we're talking about the future, I'd love to update my will too. I haven't touched it since your father passed." Now Derek looked positively gleeful. "That's very smart thinking, Margaret." What they didn't know was that while they'd been sleeping, I'd already called that San Francisco attorney. His name was Richard Park, and his secretary had promised he'd call me back Monday morning. They also didn't know that I'd activated the voice recorder app on my phone before they'd woken up, and it was currently in my cardigan pocket, recording every word. The rest of the weekend was surreal. I played the role of grateful, slightly confused mother, while they played the role of concerned, helpful children. We talked about investment strategies and tax shelters. We looked at expensive houses online just for fun. Derek mentioned several times how much the kids' private school cost, how they'd been hoping to afford a bigger place. All the while, I was documenting, recording, taking mental notes. Monday morning couldn't come fast enough. The call came at 9:15. I was alone. Lisa and Derek had taken the kids to the park, probably to discuss their strategy without me overhearing. "Miss Chen, this is Richard Park returning your call." I told him everything. The lottery win, the texts I'd found, the conversations I'd recorded. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long pause. Then, "Miss Chen, I want to be very clear about something. What your daughter and son-in-law are discussing could constitute financial elder abuse. At minimum, it's an attempt at undue influence. California takes this very seriously." "I don't want them arrested," I said quickly. "They're still my family, my grandchildren." "I understand. But you need protection. Real protection. And frankly, you need to send a very clear message that you're not the vulnerable target they think you are. What do you suggest?" "First, we set up a proper estate plan. An irrevocable trust, but one that protects your interests, not theirs. Second, we document everything they've said and done. Third, we confront them with evidence and give them a choice. Accept your terms or face the consequences." My heart was racing. "What terms?" "That's up to you. But I'd suggest something that addresses their financial crisis, since that's clearly the motivation, while also establishing firm boundaries." We talked for over an hour. By the time we hung up, I had an appointment for Wednesday morning and a plan that made me feel, for the first time since reading those texts, like I was in control again. When Lisa and Derek returned, I was calm. "How was the park?" "Great," Lisa said. "Mom, We found a lawyer we think would be perfect. He could meet with us Thursday. Actually, honey, I found someone too. A specialist in lottery winners. We're meeting Wednesday. Derek's smile faltered. Wednesday? That's pretty fast. Are you sure? I'm sure. In fact, I'd like you both to come with me. It would help to have you there. They exchanged another one of those looks. But what could they say? Wednesday morning, I drove us all to San Francisco. Richard Park's office was in a sleek, high-rise downtown. Very professional. Very legitimate. I watched Lisa and Derek taking it all in, probably feeling more confident about their plan. After all, I was bringing them along. I was asking for their input. Naive, trusting mom. Richard greeted us warmly, shook everyone's hands, and led us into a conference room. His paralegal, Jennifer, was already there with files and documents spread across the table. So, Richard began, folding his hands on the table, Miss Chen has asked me to help her structure her lottery winnings in the most protective way possible. Before we begin, I need to ask Lisa, Derek, are you here as family advisors, or are you seeking to be involved in the financial management? Lisa glanced at me. We just want to help Mom make good decisions. Of course. Very understandable. Richard opened a folder. Miss Chen, you mentioned some concerns when we spoke on the phone. Would you like to address those now? This was it, the moment I'd been simultaneously dreading and anticipating. I pulled out my phone and set it on the table. I need to show you all something first. I watched the color drain from Lisa's face as I pulled up the screenshots of the text messages. I watched Derek go very still. Mom, Lisa started. Please don't. My voice was steady, though my heart was hammering. Just don't. I slid the phone to Richard, who made a show of reviewing them, though he'd already seen them. Then I played a portion of the recorded breakfast conversation. Lisa's voice, clear as day. The sooner we get this locked down, the safer you'll be. When I stopped the recording, the silence in that conference room was deafening. I want to be very clear, I said, looking at my daughter. I found these messages by accident. But once I found them, I couldn't unknow what I knew. You were planning to manipulate me, to take control of my money. You even discussed having me declared incompetent. Mom, it wasn't like that. Lisa's eyes were filling with tears. Then what was it like? I asked. Explain it to me. Help me understand how my own daughter could sit at my kitchen table, eat my pancakes, and plan to convince me I wasn't capable of managing my own life. Derek had the grace to look ashamed. Lisa was crying openly now. We're in so much trouble, Mom. So much debt. We were going to lose everything. I didn't know what else to do. You could have asked me for help, I said quietly. You could have told me the truth. Would you have given us $400,000? I sat back in my chair. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. But you didn't give me the chance to make that choice. You decided to trick me instead. I'm sorry, Lisa sobbed. Mom, I'm so sorry. I know it was wrong. Derek kept saying we were running out of time, and I panicked. And you betrayed me. The words hung in the air. Lisa flinched like I'd slapped her. Richard cleared his throat. Why don't we take a 15-minute break? There's a waiting area down the hall. After they left, I sat with Richard and Jennifer. You're doing great, Richard said. I know this isn't easy. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. The question now is, what do you want to happen next? I thought about nothing else for 3 days. They're in trouble. Real trouble. And despite everything, I don't want my grandchildren to suffer because their parents made bad choices. So you want to help them. I want to help them learn. There's a difference. When we called them back in, I had my terms ready. Richard laid them out professionally. Miss Chen is prepared to make a one-time payment of $400,000 to clear your debts. However, this comes with conditions. First, both of you will undergo financial counseling for a minimum of 6 months. Second, you'll need to provide monthly reports showing that you're following the counselor's recommendations. Third, if you complete the program successfully, Miss Chen will establish a modest monthly stipend to help with ongoing expenses, but only if you complete it. Derek started to speak, but Richard held up a hand. I'm not finished. Fourth, Miss Chen's estate plan is already complete. She's established an irrevocable trust managed by independent trustees. Neither of you will have any control over these funds. Fifth, there are educational trusts for Mia and Jackson that they can access at 18 for college, with additional funds available at 25 and 30 for graduate school or starting a career. You will have no access to these trusts. And finally, I added, my voice steady, you will both attend therapy, together and separately, because whatever caused you to think this was acceptable, you need to fix it, not for me, for yourselves and your kids. Lisa was staring at me like she'd never seen me before. You're still going to help us? I'm going to give you a chance, I corrected. What you do with it is up to you. But Lisa, I need you to understand something. I will never fully trust you again. Not like I did. You've broken something between us, and I don't know if it can be completely repaired. Mom, let me finish. I love you. You're my daughter, and that will never change. But love doesn't mean blind faith. Love doesn't mean letting you take advantage of me. Real love means having boundaries. And right now, we need very strong boundaries. Derek spoke for the first time since the recording had played. Margaret, we're so sorry. I pushed Lisa into this. I was desperate, and I made her feel like we had no choice. There's always a choice, I said. You chose wrong. Now you have the chance to choose differently. Richard slid papers across the table. These are the agreements. You have until Friday to decide whether you want to accept Miss Chen's terms. If you do, we'll proceed. If you don't, Miss Chen will pursue other options for her estate, and you'll need to handle your financial situation on your own. We drove back to Sacramento in painful silence. When we got to my house, Lisa finally spoke. Can we talk? Just you and me? Derek took the kids inside. Lisa and I sat in the car, the afternoon sun slanting through the windshield. I don't have any excuses, she said. I was wrong. I was scared, and I let that fear turn me into someone I'm ashamed of. When did it get so bad? I asked. The money troubles. About a year ago. Derek invested in this property development deal. His friend from college was the developer. It was supposed to be a sure thing, flip it in 6 months, double our money. But the market crashed in that area, and now we can't sell it. We're stuck paying 2 mortgages, and we're drowning. Why didn't you tell me? Pride, I guess. And I knew what you'd say, that we'd been irresponsible, that we should have been more careful. She wiped her eyes. You and Dad were always so careful with money. I wanted to prove I could do better, make bigger moves. I wanted to be successful in a way that impressed you. Oh, Lisa. I reached for her hand. I was always impressed by you. You didn't need to prove anything. I know that now. Or I'm starting to. She looked at me. Are you really going to help us? Yes. But you have to do the work, the counseling, the therapy, all of it. And you have to mean it. I will. I promise. Don't promise me. Promise yourself. And promise Mia and Jackson. That Friday, they signed the agreements. By Monday, they'd enrolled in financial counseling. I paid off their debts directly to the creditors, watching $400,000 disappear from my account with a strange mix of relief and sadness. Relief that my grandchildren wouldn't lose their home. Sadness that it had come to this. The lottery commission set up my trust. My lawyer paid my taxes $4.8 million up front, a number that made me dizzy. The rest was invested conservatively. I kept enough for myself to live comfortably but not extravagantly. The house got some needed repairs. I bought a reliable new car. I set up a monthly donation to my church and the food bank where I'd been volunteering. But mostly, I just kept living my life. Same house, same routines, same Tuesday morning coffee with my friend Patricia, though now I could afford the fancy lattes instead of the regular drip. 6 months passed. Lisa and Derek attended every counseling session. I saw the reports they were learning to budget, to communicate about money, to make joint decisions. Slowly, carefully, I started to let them back in. Not all the way, not yet, but enough. One Saturday, they brought the kids over for dinner. I made pot roast, Tom's favorite. We ate at the kitchen table, all of us together, and for a moment, it felt almost normal, almost like before. After the kids went to watch TV, Lisa helped me with the dishes. "Mom," she said quietly, "I've been seeing the therapist you required, and we've been talking a lot about my relationship with you." I waited, hands in the soapy water. I realized I spent a lot of my life trying to be independent from you, trying to prove I didn't need you, and then when I did need you, I was too proud to ask, so I tried to take instead. She set down the plate she was drying. "That wasn't fair to you. And it wasn't fair to me either, to cut myself off from someone who loves me just because I was afraid of seeming weak." "You were never weak," I said. "You were human. Can I ask you something? Why are you being so kind to us? After what we did?" I thought about it, really thought about it, because I remember who you were before you made this mistake, and I'm choosing to believe that person is still in there. But Lisa, I need you to understand, if something like this ever happens again, there won't be another chance. I meant what I said about boundaries. I know. And Mom, thank you for being strong enough to stand up to us. I think I needed someone to stop me before I did something I could never come back from. That night, after they left, I sat on my back porch with a glass of wine, something I'd started allowing myself occasionally, and looked at the stars. Somewhere up there, I hoped Tom was watching. I hoped he was proud of how I'd handled things. I'd won $12.4 million, and it had nearly cost me my daughter. But in the end, it had taught me something valuable. Love without boundaries isn't love at all. It's just enabling. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no. My phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. "Love you, Mom. Thank you for not giving up on us." I typed back, "Love you too. Keep doing the work." And that was enough. For now, that was enough. I sipped my wine and smiled at the stars, at second chances, at the strange way money can reveal who people really are, both the worst and, if you're lucky, eventually the best. I raised my glass to Tom, to lessons learned the hard way, to grandchildren who'd never know how close they came to losing their college funds, to daughters who make mistakes and mothers who set boundaries, and to lottery tickets that change everything except what really matters. In the end, I'd bought them their financial freedom, but they would have to earn back my trust, and that, I'd learned, was worth more than $12.4 million could ever be.